If you saw my Elliott Knob video, you know that I was testing some new backpacking gear. Well, that test was for what was supposed to be my first overnight backpacking trip in the Three Ridges Wilderness. As the day got closer, those plans actually fell through, and the friends that I was going with were no longer able to go. Even though my friends weren't able to go, I didn't want to give myself one more excuse to push off this backpacking trip. Since January 2020, I first, started researching backpacking and buying gear and planning my first trip. I constantly had a reason not to go. First, there was the pandemic, which is a pretty good reason. But then even after things started opening up and it was becoming safe, I kept pushing off these plans. I kept waiting for someone to go with, or I missed out on campground reservations, or I was worried about the weather, or I felt like I didn't have the experience I needed for the particular path I was interested in, or I didn't have the gear, and there was just always something. So I didn't want this to be one more trip that I let myself not go on. That being said, I also didn't want to go backpacking by myself and stay overnight for my very first trip. I wasn't ready for that. I know that I can do 9 miles from Elliott Knob, and that's with a fully loaded pack. So I decided to test myself. When I looked at the route, the entire loop is just under 15 miles. I have signed up for a race in October that's 13 miles. So I figure if I'm preparing myself to run 13 miles in a couple of hours, in a few hours, then I should be able to walk 15 miles over the course of a day, even with carrying a pack and some climbing. That should be okay. So I figured that I would go ahead and do the trip, and at the 5-mile point in, I would decide whether to keep going and try to do the full 15 miles or turn back and only do 10. I wasn't carrying my full backpacking gear, but it was just enough to get me through the day, and I was really excited about this challenge. So this is that adventure. Good morning. Oh, it's beautiful. I just parked at the trailhead at Reid's Gap. It's technically on like an intersection of Skyline Drive, which is cool. The sun's just coming up. It's cool. It's like if I were just going to be standing, I'd put my puffy on. And I'm actually kind of chilly right now, even walking. But I know I'll warm up in just a second. So I just walked into the woodsy part. But I'm excited. I'm feeling good. And I'll let you know how it goes. I warmed up pretty quick because the first bit was pretty uphill and steep. But now I'm walking along the top of this ridge and the path is dirt instead of, gravel and rock. It's pretty flattish, a little bit up, a little bit down. I love this kind of stuff. The sun's coming up. So one thing that's always concerned me has been not being able to identify plants. So like leaves of 3 or whatever. Is that what that means? Is this poison ivy? I've never been confident in my ability to identify poison ivy because me just looks like everything else. It is not small. So that's where I came from. That is actually a fire road, which makes sense because it looks like there's tire tracks. And then that is roughly where I will come back. And that's the AT, where I'm going to keep going. Looks like there are campsites right here too. I think you can see, like, that's a big bear spot. How do I get there? Right there. And there's this whole open, like, field area. So if this trail's, like, if you think of it as a lollipop, right, with the stick, and then around the outside, I just made it to the base of the lollipop. So, just at the top of the stairs. This looks like maybe a little clearing, because there was a pathway to it, yeah. How cute. Little fire pit. Nice little clear spot with the tree.
I just summited B Mountain. It was, it's a hill. I mean, I'm in the Appalachians. But it's pretty up here. There's no overlook or anything. You can just kind of barely see through the trees. But it's really, really pretty. Lots of smaller trees. And then like this blanket of like, you know, knee to waist high greenery in between everything. Which means you can see pretty far. Everything has got 3 leaves on it, I swear. How are you supposed to pee when there's poison ivy everywhere? I guess it's just a good thing I don't have to pee right now. So it's all green, but you can see pretty far. And there's just a bunch of big mossy boulders with lichen on them and stuff, like right here. It feels good to be out here. I have like podcasts and stuff downloaded with my backup battery in case, you know, I wanted something to just kind of let my mind drift away, but I don't. I'm just, you know, taking these videos periodically and, sorry, I have to keep switching hands. I'm alone with my thoughts and it's nice. I feel good. And there also might be something about, you know, what is it, a year and a half ago? It's when I first started seeing the videos about the Appalachian Trail and started thinking like, yeah, I might like that. I might do that. You know, hiking generally, not the through hike. But to see all those videos and to think about it and prepare and, you know, then hesitate and then prepare again and then hesitate and then finally just have the courage to get out here, whether or not, you know, you're with me or I have friends with me or whatever, and just to do it for me because I enjoy it. And then to see the little white blazes all along this trail and to have it to myself pretty much. I don't know, it feels good. I think, especially after the pandemic and all, I think I need this. So I think I'm gonna keep doing it. Maybe 10 miles in I'll feel differently. I think there was a sign at this shelter that said this was unreliable. You know, it's basically like a spring. It looks like it comes out of the ground underneath that tree right there. I'm pretty sure that's where the water's coming from. Right up under that tree. I don't think if I go around, it's there. These are head height to me. Look. Just, you know, some wild lilies. I went ahead and stopped and had my little breakfast snack. It was a banana and a little packet of Justin's almond butter. It was delicious, the maple flavor. And then a couple of those little cheddar rice cakes. I bought another bag of those. That's kind of a weird way to finish the breakfast, but they were open and on top of the bag, and I was still a little hungry. So I'm gonna sit here and drink some water, but check out my view. So the only reason I think something is over here is because it's marked on the map. So it's not really a trail, or not a good one. Oh, but there's a little campsite. See, I think, I don't know. Cool campsite though. My video game sense is tingling. Alright, so I'm at the 5 mile point. I'm feeling great, so I'm gonna keep going. I already got to the highest point on the trail and I'm going back down. Not to say that there won't be other climbs, but I already, you know, peaked. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm feeling pretty good. It's still early in the morning, got tons of daylight left, so I can take it slow if I want. For reference, I've done 5 miles. It's 9:20. I've done 5 miles in just under 3 hours. So assuming the rest is equivalent, or maybe even a little slower, another 6 hours puts me at 3 p.m. So I'm doing great, and that's with no breaks, going kind of slow. Well, going average pace, not going any faster. So I think I'm in good shape to finish the whole loop. Super steep hillside. Like, I go just level. It's just gone. Oh, it doesn't look so bad. Hold on, I'll pop it. Bugs got way worse once I got to the top. They're lighting up now. But they're still in my face. Ooh. I win. Look at that, man. No houses, no farms, no roads, just blue rolling hills. Oh, look at that. All the way back there. Look at that big old rock. Okay, so now I'm wondering if this is Chimney Rock. Because look, behind me, it says it's an unmarked faint side trail that ascends steeply. And if you look up, where is it? There's like a little gap in the rocks up there. I don't know, I'm gonna try it. I didn't try it. I've been following a ridge for the past few miles with Chimney Rock and everything. The ridge itself is cool, but it's real buggy up here. It's less than 2 miles to the Harper's Ferry shelter, which is where we would have stopped. My worst nightmare just came true. So I'm making my way over these big rocks, right? To get to the other side. I'm gonna put my hand on the tree without looking. And it felt squishy. At least I didn't squish any of them. And none of them came off on me. 8 miles in. And I just made it to Harper's Creek. Or the shelter, rather. And this looks gorgeous. I don't know if you can hear it. But I can. It's beautiful. But yeah, I'm going to find somewhere hopefully near the water where I can kind of sit and rest for a little bit. Take a proper break. And then I'll be on the way back. So it looks like maybe there's tons of campsites all back in here. I've already passed a few and there were supposed to be some the other way. It's beautiful. It's got that same kind of feel. You know, the whole ridge walk that I did had brush, higher brush so you couldn't really see anything. And it was buggy and it was fine, but it was just not, as awe-inspiring, so to speak. But this is cool. It looks almost like a gorge, little waterfall kind of deal. And there's campsites all over the place with cleared ground. It's nice and level. And it doesn't look like there's anybody here. I'm more than halfway. So, and it's only 11, which means absolute worst case scenario. I've got 8 more hours of daylight and only 7 miles to go. So, cool. This particular section is really nice. I've got less than a mile and then I get off the AT and get onto the trail that loops me back to the beginning. The last white blaze, at least for now. Going for the blue blazes.
So that wraps up the Appalachian Trail portion of my Three Ridges hike. Check out part 2 for the Mau Har section. It was definitely the unexpected highlight of this whole trip.